What's up, everybody? I look a little different than normal. I understand. Normally I'm wearing something boring. Today I'm wearing something kind of fun. I got the shades on, whatever. The reason is I am getting paid to buy some properties, which almost never happens. I've had it happen one time before. I used a VA loan to buy a 4-unit and they paid me to buy that. I think it was like 10 grand or something like that. This time I'm getting paid to buy pure investment properties. No VA, no nothing. I'm using hard money even, and I'm still getting paid to buy these properties. And what's even crazier is the seller is paying to sell them. So I've never seen this happen before. As you might be able to tell, I'm a little wound up about it because it's hilarious to me. The guy that's selling them to me has to bring over $20,000 to closing, and I will be walking away with a check tomorrow for almost 5 grand. How in the world is that possible? I don't actually know. I do know, but the point is, this is something that's rare. It doesn't really happen, but it's interesting to talk about because there's a situation like I'm going through right now that you could find yourself getting paid to buy a place and the seller has to bring money to closing to sell it to you. And you know why that happens? When you mismanage properties, when you pay too much for properties, there's a lot of things that can go wrong, right? And I've talked about some of that stuff. I haven't had to deal with it myself, thankfully, knock on wood, wherever I can find it. But it's really important to understand that it can go both ways. And this is a case study in how bad it can go. So we're gonna go over to my computer. I'm gonna show you the closing statement. I was gonna print it out, but it doesn't translate to the camera, obviously. So we're not gonna do that. I'm just gonna talk about it in general terms here. The guy that I'm buying these properties from, I was supposed to have 15 of them, as you might remember. I've only got 9 left because there's 6 of them in a previous video that we featured. And Kevin met me out there. We did the whole thing in person. 6 of them were not winterized. They ended up with a ton of mold, water damage, etc. And I didn't want to, first off, I didn't want to deal with it. Second off, I did not want to deal with it for the price that I was paying, right? So I ended up with almost a pseudo better deal because I ended up with 8 out of the 9 that I'm actually buying are occupied, already stabilized on market rents or close to. And then I've got one vacant one that I can clean up. So now my rehab budget went from almost $230,000, which I was borrowing, by the way. I was gonna, have about a $230,000 rehab budget. Now I'm down to $130,000, and most of the work is exterior work: new siding, new soffit, new gutters, new fascia. Little odds and ends outside of that, but that's the main meat and potatoes. And then we've got that one vacant property that needs everything, outside and inside. And on the back end of that, we hope to have some really valuable properties, a hell of a lot more valuable than what I paid for, right? We're gonna be in for about $800,000 hard money, borrowing the rehab money, the whole deal. So, high leverage and certainly high risk. But on the back end, we expect them to be worth about 1.2. And on a cash out refinance, we should be able to get about 100 grand back, which would leave us with 9 additional single family properties, which we love, $100,000 in our pocket tax free, and retaining the properties. So that is why the deal matters. That's why it's good, I think. That's why I'm risking it for the biscuit, as they say. So we'll see what happens. But I got the closing statement today, and I don't get shocked by closing statements too often anymore. And it's not exactly solidified just yet, but the preliminary closing statement as we have it right now is insane. The seller of these properties hadn't paid property taxes for 2 years. So each of these properties, 9 of them, he owes property taxes and the interest and all the other fees that the city tax on for 9 years. 2 years, 9 properties, a bunch of property taxes, water bills, city fines, all sorts of stuff. He's just paying. He's paying me a credit of over $20,000 to help me get to the closing table because of the condition of these properties and whatnot. And so you just start adding it up. And this guy, I've never seen anybody get killed this bad on a closing statement. And on my side, I'm not even bringing any money to, it's an exercise in paperwork. And sure, I'm taking on a loan and the risk associated with the loan, but I'm not actually putting any skin in the game. I'm buying a 4-unit tomorrow too, and the 4-unit I had to put about $10,000 towards. On this deal, I'm getting paid $5,000 almost. So between the two, I ended up with 13 units across a bunch of properties, and I'm only bringing 5 grand. I am super excited about it. I'm super excited to show you the closing statement because it is so rare to see something like this. It used to happen all the time. 2008, 9, 10, people were doing that stuff all the time, getting paid at closing. But now it's pretty rare, and here I am with the opportunity to show you one in 2026. So for all of you that are sitting there saying, oh, I can't get a deal, it's 2026, all the good deals are gone, the boomers took them all, and I can't make my way, I think that's BS. You can certainly find deals. They're out there. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort, and it's not guaranteed, right? If you're in LA, Graham Stephan just talked about how he's selling his entire portfolio because he's in LA. LA is a terrible place to be a landlord or to invest in property, I think. If you're asking me as kind of somebody that's working a full-time job, trying to get their way, trying to get their first couple of units, the Midwest is hard to beat. And Milwaukee specifically has treated me well so far. So the point is, there's still deals out there. There's still ways to make the deals. And if you are diligent enough, you put in the time, you put in the effort, you consult with me, maybe you call me up. I'm offering that now. I haven't put the ad out yet, but a couple people have hit me up about that. So, there's a lot of different ways that you can get information and the know-how to do this stuff. Finding the deal is another animal, but knowing how to do that stuff is the first step. So, but anyways, we'll switch over to my computer yet again. I'll, show you the whole closing statement. I'll show you the exact numbers. But the point is, I'm not bringing anything to the table. The seller is bringing money to sell them to me, and I'm getting paid $5,000 in the process almost. So, not the worst day of all time. It could all go terribly wrong too. I might be doing a video in 2 months about how I'm bankrupt, but for the time being, I think we're okay. I think we're doing all right. So I'll switch over to my computer and I'll talk to you soon. See ya. All right, here we are, guys. This is the closing statement. We're just gonna rip right through this, give you guys a bunch of awesome information. I think $677 is what I'm paying for these 9 single-family houses. I'm getting a seller credit of $22,917 to get me closer to closing. I put $10,000 down, so yes, I'm not technically getting paid to buy these because I did put $10,000 down, but I'm only putting down basically $5,000 to get 9 properties. The loan amount is $801,363. Why is that number higher than what I'm paying for the properties, you ask? That's because I'm fixing these places up. So I'm getting a bunch of money to go fix up the exteriors and one of the interiors of these properties to bring them up to market standard, get some more money out of them, hopefully put them on a bigger loan, get some money back. Seller credit, again, we talked about that. Now, this is interesting. What is a debt to the seller, like we've talked about? A debt to the seller is a credit to me. So not always, but in this case it is. So all the rents for the properties, these are the month's rents for the remaining days of the month of April. They're giving me all this, transferring over. One security deposit out of all these properties, transferring over to me. All the tax prorations. So the annual taxes for the property, because January 1st to the 4/23 of 26, they take last year's bill, they divide that out to figure out what they owe this far into the year, and they give me a credit for that. So it's not free money. This is just money that I'm going to owe to somebody later on. Water bills, because the water bill doesn't ever stop. They're just going to cut it straight to here. And then tomorrow I'll pick up the water bills from there. So they're giving me a proration for that. But usually tenants pay the water bill. Now, this is where it gets kind of interesting. 3.5% is what I'm paying to Mach 1. They did me a solid. They'll never do it again. It was a one-time deal, secret sauce. They hooked me up with something. Hopefully, they don't see this and yell at me, but that they did something to try to get the deal to go through because it's a good deal for them, too. Prepaid interest, obviously, from where my first payment is. So that's standard, but you can see high interest. The escrow holdback. Now, this is my funny money. This is the money that I'm using to fix the properties up. $123,000 is what I have to spend on these properties. Partial fee. This is all fees for the title company. And then you get down here, commission that he's paying. I'm not getting paid a commission to buy these properties because I need to get it for a better deal. You can see he's got $2,000 for a recording fee, and then $587,000 was his primary mortgage. So if you look at $587,000, I offered him $677,000 minus this. So we're talking a really small margin as is. But you're about to find out that it gets worse than that. So that's $587,000. We continue down. 2024, 2025 property taxes, he did not pay them. So he has to pay all these property taxes. I mean, thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars of property taxes. Continuing on, he's got to pay a partial search fee, a closing fee. I believe he actually owed some money to the city of Milwaukee. Oh, yeah, here we are. Current water bills for a couple of the remaining properties. And we continue on more. I mean, like you can see so much money coming out. Property registration because he never registered these properties. Look at this one. He owed $4,700 because he never registered this property. And to be clear, I'm really bad about doing that too, but I've never let it get this bad. It's just insane, the amount of fees that he's seen. So he has $700,000 debt, and then he has a $677 credit, but he also had to give me my closing cost credit. So when it all nets out, he has to bring $22,794.43 to closing. He has to bring that much money to closing. Meanwhile, I am going to get paid due to borrower. I'm the borrower. I'm going to get paid $49.23 and 88 cents. So this is the whole deal wrapped up. I went over it really quickly. You can pause at any point and take a look at all this. But the point is, I'm getting 9 properties for this price. I think they'll be worth about 1.2 by the time I'm done with them. Obviously, I have the money to fix them up, so I'm in it for 801. I think they're worth 1.2 or so. So long story short, at the end of the day, this is going to be a potentially really solid deal. It could also hurt me. I'm paying high interest on the Mach 1 loan and all these other things, but I think if we can get moving through this pretty quickly and get them on long-term debt in say 3 months from now, this could be a really solid deal. And of course, on the backside, refinance, I will definitely follow up on this and show you guys. But it's pretty wild. It's not often that somebody is having to bring money to closing as the seller and the buyer is getting paid a paycheck at closing. So again, kind of a rare circumstance, kind of exciting because not only is it good for me, I feel like, but it's also just kind of a fun thing to talk about. It's something that doesn't happen all that often. So I wanted to show you guys that. I appreciate you guys watching as always, and I'll talk to you soon. See ya.